Let's start again. Hello, everyone. My name is Priyanka Nagrani, and today I'm going to present the monster within psychology and identity in Frankenstein. This is my academic and presentation details. This is table of content. And my research question is, how does Mary Shelley's Frankenstein explore the psychological construction of identity and the concept of the monster within through the mirrored mind of Victor Frankenstein and his creature? So, my hypothesis is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein reveals that the true monster lies within the divided human psyche, where repression, guilt, and isolation transform inner conflict into outward monstrosity. So let's begin with introduction. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein examine the psychological and moral boundaries of human identity and creation. The novel presents Victor Frankenstein and his creature as a two side of the same consequences, mirroring obsession, guilt, and alienation. The narration reflects early psychological insight into isolation, trauma, and self awareness, long before modern psychoanalytic theory. Shelley's work remained timeless and as a reflection on how human ambition and emotional neglect create the monster within. The novel anticipates modern psychological debate about identity, consequences, and moral responsibility, bridging literature and early psychology. So, historical and literary context is written in Frankenstein, written in 1880 during the Romantic era. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein fused Gothic horror with romantic ideals, reflecting the tension between emotion, reason, and scientific ambition. The novel embodies romantic anxieties about individual isolation and moral responsibility, turning scientific progress into psychological introspection. Influenced by her parents, Mary Wollstonecraft and William Godwin, Shelley integrates Enlightenment, moral psychology with romantic emotionalism and constructing a literary bridge between science and the soul. So let's focus on the creature's mind. Victor's embodies the romantic outreacher whose pursuit of forbidden knowledge mirror humanity's psychological drive towards self-destruction. Shelley's portrayal of Victor illustrate the narcissistic isolation, his desire to trust morality and lead to alienation and guilt. So his downfall symbolized the psychological consequences of deigning one's ethical and emotional responsibilities, transforming genius into a self-inflicted tournament. The creature, the other, and identity format. The creature is born in innocent but shaped by social rejection, illustrating how identity is influenced by environment and society. So, nature versus nature is the central theme. The creature's development and reflect the impact of social neglect and selfhood and morality. Gothic element is isolated setting, fear, and doubling emphasize psychological tension and the formation of the creature's identity. Shelley presents the creature as a complex being, struggling with consequences, morality, and belongings highlights human vulnerability to societal and emotional neglects. Let's focus on creatures, the other, and identity format. Born innocent, and the creature's identity is shaped by social rejection and isolation, illustrating the role of environment in psychological development. The other aspect is represent the shadow of Victor Frankenstein embodying repressed desire, guilt, and psychological conflict. Sherry's creature highlights how societal neglects the emotional deprivation shapes consequences, morality, and selfhood. Let's focus on the mirror imagery and doubling. Doubling emphasizes internal conflict, repression, and projection, illustrating the monster within each character. Doubling also emphasizes that societal influence of identity as a creature reacts to human prejudice and mirror of societal fears. Doubling further illustrate the tension between perception and public perception highlights the how identity is shaped by both internal and external forces. And the mirror imagery reflects the moral and emotional consequences of neglect, showing how internal guilt project into internal monstrosity. The trauma and psychological development is here. Trauma is externalizing through anger, revenge, and destructive behavior highlights the psychological consequences of social and family's neglect. And the trauma act as catastyle of identity formation, showing how suffering and alienation shape the creature consequences and victor moral awareness. So let's focus on psychoanalytic interpretation. Victor and creature represent divided aspect of human psyche and reflect internal conflicts between desire, guilt, and morality. Victor demonstrate ego and superego conflict, like balancing ambition with moral responsibility, yet falling under psychological strain. And the other is Gothic and Romance imagery, mirrors subconscious anxieties and emphasizes emotional repression and identity crisis. And also, psychoanalytic reading clarifies that moral and emotional consequences is neglect, repression, and trauma in both characters. So let's focus on contemporary relevance. And the Frankenstein explore how social rejection, isolation, and trauma shaped identity, themes still relevant in modern psyche, psychological, and mental health studies. And also, Gothic and Romantic motif continue to inform contemporary literature and media, particularly narratives on identity, trauma, and human ambition. Frankenstein also emphasized as a psychological consequences of unchecked ambition, serving as a cautionary tale of both personal and professional ethics. So, let's conclude this presentation here. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein demonstrate that the true monstrosity lies not in psychological form but psychological fragmentation, repression, and neglect. So, the experience of trauma, isolation, and social rejection illustrate how ethical responsibilities and consequences are shaped by emotional and societal factor. Ultimately, Frankenstein remained profoundly relevant, offering enduring insight into identity, morality, and empathy, and the consequence of unchecked ambition. So, this is my learning outcome. Understand how Mary Shelley's Frankenstein explored the psychological demonstration of identity, trauma, and moral responsibility. Analysis Victor Frankenstein as a creature, as a mirror of human psyche, highlights ambition, guilt, and the monster within. Recognizing the role of isolation, social rejection, and environmental factor in shaping psychological development, apply psychoanalytic framework to interpret Gothic literature and character motivations, connect Shelley's Gothic romantic motif to contemporary issue of identity ethics of societal responsibility. And these are my references. So if anyone have question, feel free to ask.
Hello. So my question is that how does transformation expose the tension between one's moral and immoral self?
Okay. When a person changes their good side and bad side start to fight, the good side wants to do what is right and the bad side wants to do what feels easy and selfish. So this shows that what kind of people they really are inside. Next question.
So my question to you is that can societal hypocrisy be seen as a collective monster within?
Okay. Yes, of course, because when a people in society behave good and act good, but do bad things in life. So it shows that bad side hiding inside everyone together, and it's just like monster made from society's lies and society's double standard, and together this becomes society's hidden dark side. So this is from my side. Thank you, everyone.